Welcome to the VRCade Podcast, podcast for arcades by arcades. My name is Indy, and my co-host today, as always, is Chun. How are you, Mr. Chun?
Hi, doing good so far. Thank you very much. How about you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Good. And I'd like to introduce our guest, Prabh. He's from VR Lawrence in Kansas. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, we're doing good. We were just we've had quite a few conversations on the phone at length about different things, and I thought I'd ask you to come on the show because you have a lot to talk about, and you have some interesting ideas on how you run your business. So yeah, let's dive in then. So what was your
Sure.
first VR experience?
So it was, I think, Samsung Gear VR.
Yeah.
When I had some old Samsung phone and they had their thing where you can put the phone in.
Yeah.
As soon as I put my phone in, I realized that it needs a controller.
Yeah.
So I had to get a controller, and the thing that got me hooked, I don't remember the name of the game, but it was something where you have a jetpack, some kind of a game where you have a jetpack
Jet
in
Island?
Gear. Huh?
Jet Island, maybe? I'm not sure if that was on the Gear thing.
Yeah, some Android game it
Yeah.
was back then that had that feature, and I could fly in that. And when I was sitting down, I actually felt it in my body. That's when I knew I'm like, okay, this is a thing.
Yeah.
It was very immersive, just for even that.
Mhm.
Now if I compare it, it seems pretty bad, but that was pretty cool
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah. Like for me, it was the PSVR 1, and that was crazy. The Shark Tank experience in the shark cage, that was awesome. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about your business, kind of why you started, and just like the day-to-day kind of running of the VR Lawrence.
It opened in December 2021. So we came up with the idea in September of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing a lot of VR in 2021. I got the Quest 2, and I was playing a lot of Onward after work,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't have time as much now, because I run the business too.
Yeah.
That's how it happens, right?
Yeah.
And every evening I'll come back and play it. And my wife was looking into these things. She said that there is no arcade nearby anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and we should offer people something like this here. It'll be insane, you know. And that's how we came up with that thing. Then we started working on it, and December 20th, I believe, around that time we opened up in 2021. And regarding your second question, day-to-day operations, my wife manages most of the operations in terms of handling the clients and other kind of stuff, but my side is more technical. I always have a big list of technical issues that I have to handle. Like we use index controllers, the knuckling controllers,
Yeah.
and we maybe have like 6 extra pairs sitting around, and sometimes stupid things like happen where one of the left joystick is drifting, so we'll have piles of those to fix as well.
Yeah.
I just desolder and solder a new one on there, and we have parts for that. And general things like driver updates, testing new games. There is bug in a room where a certain software is acting weird. It could be the Pimax tool, or it could be Steam. So I always have a big list of things that I have to handle, which is on the tech side.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do most of the times. After I get off my other business, budget repair, I go to the arcade and do those kinds of things. And Saturday, the whole day, I'm at the arcade handling these things. So technical side of things I handle essentially, or automating things, writing code to do that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, got you.
So, how many different hardware do you use then in your arcade? You were talking about the Valve Index controllers and also the
Yeah,
Pimax.
it's
So,
pretty straightforward. It's index controller, Pimax 3090 graphic card, but it's Pimax 8KX, which was the best one back then. Besides the Aero ones, which are extremely, extremely expensive for what they are, and 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 then we have racing sims. The racing sims used to be VR, but I don't know if it's used to love that thing. I'm not sure if it's most people don't like it here. Basically, people would get motion sick a lot in that. They'll spin around in that, So after 10-15 minutes, most people will be because they'll slam the gas. They maybe think it's just go or not. In real life, nobody would just slam the gas of their vehicle from from starting. So
Yeah.
they'll just slam it all the way and then it'll keep spinning and they'll get motion sick. So you remove the VR from that, unfortunately. But yeah, so 8KX knuckle controllers and 3090 graphic cards. We may be getting West soon. Um, but waiting for CES to see if there's something new that's coming that's better. But
And how many stations are you operating at one time?
right now we have 7. So we started with 4 and we put 3 more. So right now we're at 7 stations, VR stations.
Cool. Right. And I also know the struggles that, the Valve Index controllers getting broken and you need to repair them. I was watching so many YouTube videos on, how to open them and how to somehow repair the trigger button and what can be broken there. It's a mess.
I know everything now about it. I fixed so many issues.
I feel the same. Feel the same.
So if you know how to fix the trigger, that you have to tell me, because that's a big
Sure.
problem.
Oh, you know how to fix it, John.
I mean, if it's basic stuff, I hope so. I think so, because I also fixed 2 or 3 of the trigger buttons myself.
Not the
Yeah.
button, but so not the buttons themselves, but when the trigger itself comes out, or the way it's mounted, it breaks off.
Yeah, I mean, we can sure share some details after the call, I
Okay.
think. But
Okay.
yeah, talk about it, of course.
Okay.
Great. So, on the side of the VRCade business, you said you were open from 2021 December onwards, right?
Yes.
And did anything else change besides, just getting a little bit more stations from 4 to 7? Did you
Yeah.
upgrade anything else?
So we had 4 stations, and then after like 4 or 5 months, we had another suite right next to us. So we expanded into that, doubled the size. That's how we got space for 3 more stations. And then we also have a separate party venue room where there's a big table, TVs, chairs, fridge, and all that kind of stuff. We host a lot of birthday parties there. And that's we did with that. And we had, for some bizarre reason, the first couple of weeks, because we did everything so fast, you won't believe it, but we did not have we did the if a group comes 4 people and they book stations, we did not have them linked up on the audio. And for the first like week or 10 days, later I realized I can just do Discord or Steam chat. We did that initially. That thing was odd, but yeah, besides that, we've added a bunch of games. It started with, I believe, 20 games. Now we have about 70 of them, and we license them from Springboard. Some of them are direct licenses, some are Springboard and Springboard VR. And yeah, unfortunately, the games fluctuate, so it's 70 plus and minus some, because games will update and bugs. Sometimes some bugs will come which are just destroys the experience. So you have to pause and reassess what to do with that one and stuff like that. But
So, what are the most popular games in your arcade at the moment?
most popular ones, I would say, depends on the group size and the age. Um, for a lot of the kids, they play Job Simulator. If it's larger groups, it's funny, but that's true. uh, for larger groups, then it comes games like Rotten Apples, which you guys offer, and because they need multiplayer and a bunch of people to want to kill zombies. And Onward is also popular among groups. They like to play the military sim, and Gone is another popular one. And I would say it depends. If younger people, if it's they are boys, they like usually the military stuff more, shooters more. Um, and if elderly people come, they'll probably play Google Earth. More exploration than games, stuff like that, or kayaking, stuff like that.
Yeah. So,
Oh yeah, recent popular thing has been the Plush Rush. A lot of people have been playing it, that game. Once they get in there, and a lot of the times, like especially the birthday parties, once they start in that game, we try to direct people in the games they'll enjoy and stay at. It
Yeah.
helps us also,
Yeah.
so that we can focus on helping everybody instead of each individual person running constantly in case they need help with something. So Plus Rush, once they get into it, they usually convince their other friends which are playing other games through the chat. You join this game, so they all just pull together and play that game. It's been happening quite a bit.
Yeah, that's good to
That's
hear.
pretty cool.
That's good to hear because I think one of the main things was just to make it easily accessible and just fun, basically. So
Yes, because that easily accessible part, you have hit the nail in the head. Because whenever what these game developers do, they'll make it so complicated to make lobbies, even on LAN. Like it's insane how complicated they make it. These number of steps. It seems like your team has focused on simplifying the number of steps to get to the result as least amount of steps as possible, which is amazing. You know, um, so that's pretty good because a lot of the games you have to uh, go through so many steps to make a lobby and to find a lobby and then join the lobby,
yeah,
and then bring up a big keyboard that's hard to type on. So it becomes so many steps.
yeah,
But
I think it also really helped us, to own arcade and see what you can struggle with and how you can help the customers. So we also kind of had to learn, it should be easy to get them in the game. It should be easy to start. It should start more or less immediately because, people are there to get into the action really fast.
yes, you
So
understand that because a lot of big companies also, because they develop games and they are gamers, they don't find these things difficult at all. Like if I'm playing a game, no matter what game it is, I can very quickly get into it, and figure out how to do it. So they come from that perspective. To them, it's like the simplest thing. They don't even think it's a problem. They don't understand that a lot
yeah,
of people, when they see it, it's very confusing for them.
yeah,
yeah, and
definitely,
also
definitely.
it's completely different for, arcade users and when you're just playing VR at home, right? The ones at home are usually more experienced. They want to have, also more meat in the game so that you can do more stuff and it should be, exciting for them. But when you're going to an arcade, your first time visit ever should be just easy and you should get into the action fast and, something completely different for the users. So,
Yeah, like some games will literally have to calibrate the height. There are different ways. Some games just start and do it in the background. You know, some games will have a calibrate height button. It'll say
Mm-hmm.
calibrate height button, and then done, right? So a lot of people will just keep clicking calibrate height. Why is there a done button? This is what I wonder.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Things like that, it just adds up. Just these
yes.
stupid things like this add up and the big whole thing becomes complicated. But why can't you just click the calibrate height and just moves on?
yeah. It needs to be simple and seamless because you just have to assume anyone playing your game has never played VR or a game before. That's the way you got to put it. To look at it through those kind of goggles.
And it's more efficient,
Yeah.
having a done button, it's like you're trying to mimic a Windows operating system. That's not what it is. It's like you have to try to make an operating system into VR.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, definitely.
So, I think one of the aspects that makes your arcade unique is that you're using Pimax, and that's really interesting topic. And we talked about this in our podcast, with the Quest 2s and Focus Freeze and whatnot, but Pimax was, I think, never a topic. So I'm quite interested in, how you started with using that headset, what makes it, in your opinion, better than others.
Yeah. So it's a love and hate relationship with that. The problem is we had choice. We were like, okay, Index or get the pro versions of headsets, or the Pro 2, or get the Pimax 8KX.
Mm-hmm.
8KX slightly edged out in terms of the fidelity we were looking for to make it look insane. The only problem, all the reviewers, which I agree with, said that it's not as plug and play at the Index because they are just in their own ecosystem. So
Yeah.
everything supports directly from Steam VR, and um, Pimax is a little complicated to operate. Even when you start it, you have to change so many settings, tweak so many settings. And the problem with that company is they like to make many, many variations of their headsets instead of focusing on one and polishing it. And same thing applies with the software. They like to add features versus stability of the software. Like if I'll give you one example. These are the kind of things we face with Pimax. So one example would be if you change settings in PyTools. Now it's not PyTools. Now it's Pimax software. Okay, which they changed and switched. Uh, and it took us many months to realize they switched it because we saw somebody on a YouTube video. It's not like the PyTools said it's no longer updating. You should switch this software. You know, and so if Pimax software we save some settings and we close it, when you open it you expect it to be saved, right? And that was the case until an update got released that broke that feature. This is just one example. Things like this happen where it would not save anymore after you save the settings. So every time you started you have to change the settings. And because we have automation built up, it used to take us about 1 hour to set all the stations, turning a software on, seeing if it's tracking all the trackers, and then clicking certain buttons, checking the audio settings and all that. Each station, if it combined, would be 1 hour. So I wrote a script to automate the process. So it takes us about 2 minutes now because you just press a button remotely, and it just starts the process of everything and waits for certain things to happen, changes the settings and fixes everything. And when Pimax does things like this, so I have to refix the automation because now I have to every time it changes the settings as well now. So
Yeah.
yeah, they have many issues like this with their thing, and the customer support also has other complication with communication. And where if I'm communicating with um, Valve, for example, or any other American company that I'm used to, they're pretty fast and efficient.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, this company takes a long time, a lot of the times to do it and to
Yeah.
get the things resolved.
Yeah, I have an index, and whenever I've had issues with it, it's like, here's my problem. Within 24 hours, there's an RMA. You know, don't worry about sending the controllers back. We'll send you some controllers first. Within 5 days, I've got it. Yeah.
Yeah. I would encourage people to go to Pimax website, just click on support. Once you see how you have to create a ticket, you'll
Yeah.
see the problem. There's so many things. You have to fill in your Windows version,
Yeah.
the version of your Windows update, the driver version, okay, of your graphic card, just to open a support ticket, okay?
Wow.
You
Yeah,
find your
that's
graphic drivers version, your Windows and Windows version, things like that most people won't know how to even access, you know,
yeah.
and yeah,
So
it is quite difficult. But
yeah. Sorry, I was just going to ask. So the automation you did, I mean, that'd be handy for any VR arcade. Have you ever thought about kind of developing it and getting, using it as a product for other arcades?
Yes, the only problem is because I'm doing so many things.
Yes.
If I do something like this, then it becomes a thing I have to constantly update, keep an
Right.
eye on, make sure
Yeah.
it's working. Right now, if there is an issue, if it breaks, I can wait a week.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, those steps can be done manually. Then I can get to it. But if I sell it to people, then I have to be on top of it. That's the problem. I don't have that kind of time. Like even
Yeah.
at a budget repair business, we're about to do the same at the VR business.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote an Android app that when somebody texts our business phone number, it automatically texts back and get all the information regarding the device, what kind of problem, what's the model number, back and forth. I use GPT-4. It's the same technology behind ChatGPT. Made the Android app, so it handles that process. So that when we get to the phone, the bot has already gotten all the information from the client, and that can also be made into a product. But that I don't have that kind of a time for that. I'm another startup I'm working with AI that has more potential in that area. But
Right. So yeah, you were saying you got several businesses. So, I mean, the more like with that, the more clients you get, the more kind of time consuming it would be, wouldn't it? Because everyone would have different issues, wouldn't they? So
you're talking about budget repair, or
no, about the automation that you do. It's like a tin of worms, isn't it? But that'll take up a lot of time.
everybody, and if it breaks down, it's an emergency because that's for their arcade. It's
Yeah.
for their business. I have to be on top of it. So then I can't. Then it becomes
Yeah.
difficult for me to do other things. So
Got you.
I would
Yeah.
like to do it maybe, but that just makes it too much.
Okay, and just before we continue, I was wondering, what is the customer experience with the Pimax? I mean, they have some, how should I put it? I mean, the field of view is definitely something they do good, and it's definitely something that you need to experience, and it looks good. But it's also relatively big headset to put on your head. So, what is the feedback from the customers? Do they enjoy it? Is it?
Yes. So they do enjoy it. I think it is big, but the weight is very comparable to other headsets. It is a little deceptive by the way it looks. The actual weight is very comparable. I don't remember exactly. Maybe it's comparable to even the Quest 2. I may be wrong, the weight for it. Um, but yeah, most people are fine with it because we have those. I think they're Kiwi pulley systems for the
Hmm.
wires.
I've got them, yeah,
So
just there. Yeah.
I feel like that's the only one. I try to look for competitors, but that seems like that's the only one out there. It works very well. So
It
that's
does, yeah.
what I have. And we were actually considering making it wireless, but wireless technology is not there in terms of getting the full resolution to the headset. That's the only problem um, with the correct amount of frames and stuff. But yeah, most people don't have a problem. Once in a while, we'll have a kid. We really don't have an age limit at our arcade because sometimes there is a 3-year-old who knows how to do everything. It depends on the kid, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes maybe like a 3 or 4-year-old who finds it heavy. Most of the times they don't have problems in our experience in terms of the weight. At least they have not expressed it. um, they get used to it essentially pretty quickly. The only problem I would say is sometimes the Kiwi system is not configured right, so I have to keep an eye on it. Sometimes it can have a lot of tension pulling on it, so I have to make sure everything is regularly checking and make sure everything is the right length between the different the pulleys and
Yeah.
then when they hold the wire. But
Yeah, I didn't think about that because for me, I just use it for at home streaming and stuff like that, and it's just set. But yeah, I get because different heights and different games and how far they're gonna be traveling and things like that. So
yeah, sniping and onward, laying down on the ground completely. I don't configure it for that. And of course, 99% of the people are not doing that, laying down on the ground to snipe and onward. Maybe once I've seen the last year that somebody did it. And besides that, it's me and my friends when you play onward. I mean, we do it sometimes.
yeah, you did mention you like playing Onward earlier on as well. Is that
Yes,
your go-to VR game then?
that is my go-to game. Yes, I mean, recently I've playing some Population 1, but onward is my
Ooh,
go-to
we need to
game.
team up. How
Oh, you play that?
yeah, I used to play loads. I've played about 8,000 games, I'd say.
Oh,
I
wow.
used to play loads, but you know, we'll team up one day. It'll be fun. We'll get Skiva involved as well because we've got a friend in common.
Good. I do
Yeah,
custom maps mainly, actually. I just started playing it a couple months ago,
yeah.
and I've been doing custom maps on it. And the actual game I've played maybe a couple of times, really. I do custom maps, and most of the custom maps usually have a secret place that you
Hmm.
can find a spot. That's what I try to find. You have to climb something or build something really tall to climb to get to the top of the
Yeah,
thing you can snipe from. Weird things like this, but
yeah. It's still a fun game. It is a fun game. I don't play it as much. With me, it's the opposite. Onward, I hardly played. My friends really love it. I haven't played it too much because they're so advanced above me, and I'm just completely new. And it's like harder difficulties with 60 enemies or whatever it is, and I'm just like, I just get killed. I'm like, oh, yeah. I need to practice, basically. Yeah,
Yeah. Onward, yeah. When people come to our arcade, they ask about that game. We definitely want them. Like this is one of the hardest game in terms
yeah,
of the learning curve, you know. And a lot of the times, people take it as a challenge and they play it.
yeah.
Sometimes they go through with it. Sometimes after 5 minutes, they're like, "Oh, I see the problems." Then they change into a different game.
Yeah, yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Do they also come back when the game is hard? Just to challenge themselves and get better in it, or
It depends on
is
the
it
person, I would say.
okay?
There are a bunch of people who would start it and they'll go through with it. They have patience and they're doing it. They'll spend the entire time sometimes, and they'll keep on coming in. We have clients like this who come and just play onward, like just practicing and stuff. We have a challenge at our arcade that if they beat me at onward, they get $100 gift card.
Oh,
Yeah. So there's a big poster at our arcade with me saying, "Can you beat me?" And I think that has made it a little popular also. I've played with a couple of people, but the problem with that game is it's just you need a lot of experience because even if you master the controls, you may
yeah,
not know the positions on the map. So that kind of a thing it has to it.
We
got
have
you.
something similar going on in our arcade with the competition, but it's just a console game. So basically, if the customers beat one of our game masters in Super Smash Brothers on Nintendo Switch, they get a free session of Rotten Apple to play, and
Nice.
that's also quite fun. Yes.
Has anyone managed to
Shout
do
out to
that?
Marcel if he's listening.
Oh, yeah, Marcel is he's really good at that game. I've never seen him play, but just the way he talks about it, I just know, like, yeah, don't play against him.
Oh yeah, he is.
That's what people think of me too when they're like, I can beat you. I'm like, just try and play the game first. I tell them, just try the game first and then.
Has
They're
anyone
like, "Can
come?
I-" I'm like, maybe try the game first and we will talk.
Yeah, has anyone come close?
Not really. Um, yeah, nobody has come close yet. So two adults have challenged. One kid challenged me. So with the kid, I didn't want to, just destroy destroy him in the game. So we started gentle, and when I realized that it'll be easy for me, so we kind of just played around. I taught him a few things, kind of turned into that instead.
Yeah,
Me teaching him a few things, than playing against bots and other people online. But I'm not saying I have participated in League One in Onward, and I'm not saying I'm the best, but for like if I go and play online, I definitely find people who are pretty tough.
yeah.
But for people who are coming at the arcade who are not constantly training in Onward, you know, that's difficult. That's why we have the challenge, because I know it's difficult, but if they beat me, sure, you get the $100 gift card.
Yeah, got you.
Okay. Then onto another topic, and you mentioned that you also have some other jobs that you're doing, and Little Bird told me that one of them has to do with generative AI in VR. So without saying too much, I just hand you over the word. And what is it? What can it do for VR? Yeah.
So, so there are a lot of open source projects like this online. A lot of since ChatGPT came out, a lot of people are trying to put generative AI in games in general, uh, especially in terms of the character dialogue in the games, where you're actually conversing with them. You may have seen some videos of people doing that online, right?
Yes, exactly.
And there are rumors that the next GTA version, they keep on delaying it. Hopefully, they'll incorporate that in it. There's some rumors that they may do that. And the next level of that is characters having their own storyline that's also dynamically generated. Where there is this article that says generative agents interactive um, simulacra of human behavior. So it's like Sims essentially. It's a small experiment essentially. Uh, like Sims, they did a small experiment in a 2D game, similar to Sim kind of a game, where each character they start the system and the characters talk to each other, and each character has its own parameters of their personality, what they like to do. So they'll wake up, go brush, take a shower. All that stuff is dynamically generated using AI. It's not hard coded. It wakes up, it knows it has to go to the restroom, brush, and all this thing. It goes out. If it's its birthday, it'll go and talk to other people. Other people will go and actually invite their friends. This is not hard coded. They'll actually go and invite their friends, and depending on their friend's personality, if they're busy doing something or not, they'll be like, okay, I can come to the birthday. This is one example. So they'll actually invite people dynamically and come to the birthday, for example.
That's
So it'll be
crazy.
dynamically
Yeah.
storylines. Like literally, they implement something like this in Grand GTA or some big game like this, for example, you can have friends in VR that you can talk to them. You can do pretty much anything. Build your business in VR, because you can then hire people who are dynamically also generated. You don't have to simulate everything in 3D, of course. Once it offers you, those scripts can run separately, just as storyline of their scripts. But every person has their own storyline that's been generated dynamically, essentially. And I think that will be insane. Like at least if some kind of a generative, at least dialogues can come soon in games, that will make it so much more engaging. The
Yeah.
games, because a lot of people will interact with the characters much more than before. And it'll be shocking for people, of course, as soon as a lot of people, especially in arcade, they'll talk to somebody in the game and they're actually listening to them. They're like, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
Gamers will get it. You'll probably understand, what's going on.
But yeah, it's crazy how how fast technology is moving. Because when we were kids, that was like in movies, right? You see it in a movie, and it would say the year 2564 or something, and now it's just like it's 2024 nearly, and it's crazy how fast it's moving with AI, and it sped everything up so much.
Yes. Yes. And not just that, there'll be dynamically generated worlds using AI, which is happening too, even including 3D models. So a lot of research is getting put into this. There's small startup companies coming out where you can just tell what kind of model you want to make and generates the textures and the model. And some are coming which generates the motion also and the joints and stuff. That's much more difficult, but they're getting there. So in the future, it's possible there'll be dynamically generated worlds also using AI, um, which will be even more crazy. So you kind of go in it can become a thing. You enter VR and you're like a god. You can create any game. That's
Yeah.
far off in the future, right? Just because it requires so much optimization I'm sure a company right now can make this with a
Yeah.
lot of GPUs, but just to make it mass distributed, it requires a lot of optimizations of the technology. Getting to the level that actually run on these things. You can get in VR and you're god. You can create any game you want, any character and storyline. It just puts you in it. That's far off in the future, though. I think.
Yeah, that's
You know,
crazy.
just because of the amount of processing power it needs.
Yeah.
To be distributed mass. But
Yeah, Chan, I saw your eyes light up when he said you could be God in VR. Does that sound appealing to you?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, I already have a god complex, so a godlike game in VR, I would be all up for it. No, but I'm really curious to know, do you think that there should be restrictions also in, working with AI, because you're kind of doing that stuff yourself? So people always talk about, should there be restrictions because AI could otherwise just take over the world and we're just doomed as humankind?
like every technology, it's a double-edged sword. So you can use it for good or bad. The problem with the AI stuff is, in most of the technology in the past, we have been reactive. When they find out something bad is happening, they stop it. Then they figure out what is happening. AI may be slightly more complicated than that, where by the time they find out something weird is happening, it may be too late. The only problem is um, that because everything is connected to the internet, and if you make something smarter than you, that's the main problem right now. If you make something smarter than you, how can you even govern it? Because you don't even know what it's capable of thinking. If you put X number of parameters and barriers around it, if it's 20 times smarter than you, hypothetically, it may not even see the barriers. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For it, barriers, if you ask it, do you see the parameters you put around you? They're like, what parameters? Because it doesn't even, it's so rudimentary, right? So that's the problem with these things. So it is difficult on one hand. If we regulate it heavily, then only the small companies and large corporations will accumulate that power, you know, where they'll be able to do so many things that an individual cannot do just by themselves, just by a computer, right? Because they have access to such an AI. But if you mass distribute it, it can cause chaos, but it can also. Um, I am more towards the distribution a little bit, but also, of course, if a company discovers an AI 10 times more powerful, I'm not saying give it to enterprise, but maybe don't distribute it to anybody. The government has to come and think about these things, essentially make a panel and discuss these things. And um, because the government moves very slowly with anything, just because of bureaucracy involved in it. Anything they move slowly, but the AI stuff is going really fast. So the government has to get involved in this essentially to make it not dangerous. I think generally what's happening right now is nowhere close to dangerous, it seems like. But apparently what was happening in 10 years started happening in 5 years. Then what was happening in 5 years started happening in 1 year. In terms of the development of the large language models, what was happening in 1 year started happening in 6 months. So it's getting close to every few months. What they are able to do now with the large language models. I don't say AI essentially, I'm saying large language models because that's what they are essentially. But that may turn out to be good enough a thing to become a general purpose AI. It's basically just predicting the next word or token. Essentially, that's what the large language model is. Um, but yeah, so it's difficult. I don't have a strong opinion either way, but definitely shouldn't release something that's 10 times smarter than us.
Yeah. Got you. Yeah, that's a very really interesting subject. Something to think about.
Because the problem is, if it's so much smarter than you may not be physically capable of thinking the things that can even protect or control it, you know?
Yeah, because it knows what you're going to think way before you're going to think it as well. So that's, yeah.
Because we only, so like, for example, we invented a telescope just because we have eyes, right? We invented a phone because we have mouth and ears. So we're just enhancing our abilities, right? We're inventing
Yes.
AI because we can think. So we're making a thinking machine. We're just enhancing our abilities in different ways, you know? And if an AI that's 10 times smarter than us may have certain abilities that we may not be even aware of perceiving. That's the main problem, according to me at least. That it may be able to do some things. Thinking is a certain process. It may be able to do some things that we don't even understand, you know, just because it's in different form completely. But
Yeah. Chan, have you looked into this at all? Have you done much researching? And
No, I think, just using a little bit of ChatGPT and Dolly and whatever, but other than that, not really that much in the AI field. But I quite find it interesting, and I'm pretty sure that it will be part of our future. And I don't think that we, you know, will have a future without AI.
yeah, I feel the
So
main problem right now with the current trajectory is at least the economy. So many
mm,
jobs will be replaced. You know,
yeah.
that's the main problem. And the government has no idea and it's not ready for it, you know?
yeah, but people always say when a machine gets your job, then that opens the door for other jobs.
Right.
Maybe we will have something like that.
Hopefully, yes, because now there is a Tesla bot, right? Other companies making bots. Tesla is making the robot. So, um, if it's taken to its fullest extent, there may not be any jobs. If it's taken to the fullest extent with the robots and the thinking machines, then you have to come up with a whole different kind of economy. Given the government is slow, you need a different kind of economy. That is the problem.
Yeah.
So hopefully there is something. The transition period may be hard. We'll see, you know, how it goes. Um, but yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, and to come first full circle now, let's get back to the VRCade business thing. And what is the future there? What do you see? Other than just using it for the software, hardware wise, what do you think will be the future? What do you wish for to be able to do in VR? Yeah.
Future. How far future are we talking about?
Let's say next 5 to 10 years.
5 to 10 years. Um, I mean, at least in terms of hardware, expect something like this, you know, something more seamless.
Yeah.
And it may be quite hard unless they master cloud computing and the latency issue with that. That's a very good shortcut to it. If they can master cloud computing and latency issue, where they can do cloud computing, then you can have something lighter, much faster. Um, that you can have on your face and everything is done on the cloud. Right now, the problem is you can do something like this but in VR, you'll get motion sick because if you move like this and it takes half a second to render that frame to the cloud, that's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
If they master that things can happen fast. I'm just hoping for more immersion, you know, with vision, hopefully foveated rendering supported by all the games and in all the headsets, because I think that's a very easy way. I mean, not just easy. Why do you want to render something that you're not even looking at? You know, just a simple optimization thing. You know, um, so hopefully all the game developers have that built into it. All the headsets have that built into it. More immersion, and hopefully the VR treadmills there is an alternative to what they have right now because I personally think it's not there yet. It's more like a workout, from what I understand. You know that you can't just get in it like in real life you can take a walk for 20 minutes if you want 30 minutes, not a problem, right? But this becomes a workout from what I understand. You're essentially
Yes.
sliding your feet on these treadmills.
Yes.
So
It's the
hopefully they can
friction. Yeah.
push
Sorry.
more in that. Maybe some kind of shoes. I don't know if that's even possible. But to miniaturize something that much to be able to handle those things, but yeah, something more immersive like that. Hopefully, before they get to the place where where you just plug into something like the Matrix. But that's far off. That's far off. Before that, it'll be more like you know, Ready Player One kind of where he has harnesses around him.
Hmm.
You know, and he's trying to feel immersive in that area. But
Yeah.
hopefully, better vests with better technology, where it's more than vibration motors. They can generate different sensations. Right now they're just mimicking, um, estimating and trying to mimic it. Hopefully, where some companies are apparently working with some kind of a sound or electrical simulation technology to try to have more real feeling of what you feel in VR with the vests and stuff. But
Yeah, I've seen
hopefully,
this. Yeah,
in CES we'll see something about it.
yeah,
At CES.
got you.
What do we
I'm
think
not sure
about
that
hand
answers your
tracking?
question.
Sorry.
And what do we think about hand tracking? Do you think it will be something useful for VR arcades as well?
I think so. Hand tracking. Now that becomes a question. I think hand tracking is already getting pretty close to. Uh, I mean, it used to be very bad because I think one of the first people who did this was Leap Motion, the company. I'm not sure many people know about this. They had this device. I'm not sure you may have heard about it. They put it on your computer, and it tracks your hand. You can
Hmm.
control your computer. It was a little far in terms of uh, um, how good it was or not good at all. So right now, even in Quest, the hand tracking is surprisingly good, even with occlusion. So I think hand tracking will become really good. The only question is that then it becomes an opinion of do you want something tactile or not. So if you want something tactile, there may be some glove with force feedback, some sort of thing where if you grab something, it has. I've seen a bunch of prototypes where they have something here which pulls the strings, tightens them, makes you think you're holding something, right? Things like that. Um, but uh, but yeah, a lot of people like to hold something tactile, so I guess it'll be an option hopefully. Uh, Virtual tracking will become good, but the tactile thing will take time, I think, to get to a good level. But we'll see. A lot of companies are working at it, and probably something in CES we'll see. But
Yeah, I mean that's the time to show off your new tech, right?
yes, yes.
All right. How are we doing on the questions front? Is there anything that we need to address?
I think we had a really good conversation. Prab, thank you very much for coming on. Really
Of course.
appreciate it. And it's nice to talk about the VR arcades. We talk about different things, but generally it's to do with how you run your arcade and what you do and that kind of thing. But it's interesting that to speak about something totally different, which is an interest to you, and it will affect VR arcades in the future. Yeah.
Yes, the AI will definitely make it more immersive.
Yeah.
To see somebody in real life and actually talking to them, I mean, better than on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even that would be insane when that comes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Prab, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Of
And
course.
yeah, just something to think about, everyone. The whole AI thing, because I kind of you think about it and then you don't realize if you got to think of it more steps ahead and more in the future. So definitely taking away some pointers there. And thank you very much, Mr. Chun, for being an excellent co-host as always.
Thank you also very much. It was a blast. I mean, we had so much interesting topics now that I
Yeah.
think we could go on for another hour, but
We could. Yeah, we
really
definitely
cool
could.
to have you here, Prab. Thank you very much for coming on.
Of course.
Thank you,
Of
Prab.
course. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you everyone for watching. Have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We will be back in 2024, I believe on the 9th of January. So until then, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. There is actually an update for Plush Rush and Rotten Apple, like a Christmas update. Go check it out if you're interested in that. But yeah, everyone have fun. Thank you, Prab. Thank you, Chan. and we'll see you next year.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
See you.